In 1983, a £10 million kidnap hit the headlines in Ireland, but it was never solved. This is the case of Shergar the Racehorse. As always, I mean no disrespect to anyone mentioned, and this is all public information that I found on the internet that I have compiled into one video. Thank you in advance to Wayne Crosby for suggesting this video because I've had a lot of fun looking into this one. In the 1980s, Ireland was going through pretty tough times. They went through an unemployment record high, and 475,000 people decided to leave the country, which was an astronomical number, seeing as the population was only 3.3 million at the time. England had won their battle with Argentina over the Falkland Islands, and they were slowly getting a grip on inflation, which peaked at 22% in 1980. However, things were still not well in Ireland, as the news was riddled with frequent bombings from the IRA and the INLA. On July 20th, 1982, two bombs detonated by the IRA went off at British military ceremonies in Hyde Park and Regent Park in London. It accounted for 50 injuries and killed 11 people. However, it was the image of 7 dead horses on the ground that had people outraged. One horse, Sefton, actually survived and had to undergo 8 surgeries to make sure that he was okay. He accumulated hundreds of thousands of donations and appeared on so many TV shows, even getting Horse of the Year award. In 1981, Shergar the thoroughbred racehorse was considered to be the best there ever was. With 6 total races, he won 5, with the 6th resulting in a draw. Shergar was owned by HGH the Aga Khan, which from my understanding is a company owned by the spiritual leader of the Shia Islam community, Aga Khan IV. He was titled His Highness by Queen Elizabeth II upon the death of his grandfather, Aga Khan III. He has a net worth of around £11 billion. Shergar's trainer was Sir Michael Ronald Stout, who was knighted in the 1988 birthday honours for promotion in sports tourism in Barbados. He is the only trainer in the 20th century to win an English Classic for 5 successive seasons, and he's been champion trainer 10 times. In 1983, Shergar retired from being a racehorse and was destined for Ballymany Stud in County Kildare in Ireland. There was such an interest from the public that there were news cameras awaiting his arrival at Dublin Airport. Aga Khan was not the only owner of Shergar anymore. Due to him being worth £10 million, he decided to sell the 40 shares that he had to 9 different countries who had bloodstock interests. This meant that each shareholder then had the option each breeding season to nominate a mare to be covered or to sell the option on. This technically put Shergar's stud fee at £60,000 to £80,000 per cover. On the 9th of February 1983, around 8:30 p.m, 4 armed men made their way to Ballymany Stud in County Kildare. 2 of them forced their way into Jim Fitzgerald's home, the head groom, pointed a gun at his 5 kids and wife and locked them in a room. They then proceeded to march him across the road and forced him to point out which box was Shergar's. Once he had pointed out the right one, they blindfolded him and put him in the back of the van, where they also loaded up Shergar. 4 hours later, Mr. Fitzgerald was released unharmed but still blindfolded near Dublin. He had a message from the kidnappers. If you want the horse back in one piece, we want £2 million. When Mr. Fitzgerald was released by the kidnappers at around 12:30 a.m, he was told not to go to the police, which he didn't do until 5 a.m. that same day. A line of communication was then opened between Aga Khan's Paris office and one of the kidnappers who called himself King Neptune. They asked for proof of life of Shergar before any negotiations of ransom was made. A Polaroid picture was then delivered to a Dublin hotel, which showed Shergar's head next to an in-date newspaper, but it was uncertain whether the horse was alive or dead in this photograph. As it was uncertain whether or not Shergar was alive in this photograph, they asked for further proof of life, but the kidnappers never called back and they were never heard from again. Police searched both sides of the border in a nationwide manhunt for Shergar. They believed he was being kept in an isolated spot as there were no public sightings of him, and he was pretty recognizable. He had a white mark on his face, and all four legs had white socks on them. Apparently, the security for Shergar was pretty lackluster. The staff that were assigned to look after him weren't in his stable, the gate was unmanned and unlocked, and even had a sign on that said, "Please close the gate," which the kidnappers did after they kidnapped Shergar. Chief Superintendent James Murphy, who was leading the hunt for Shergar, appealed to the robbers and said, "I do not believe any ransom will be paid, and I want to say the police will block any attempt to pay any ransom." Investigating officers also revealed that they could be common criminals or linked with subversive groups, but they were unsure because they didn't even know what kind of accents they spoke with. One thing I was unsure of when reading into this story was whether or not this could have been an insurance scam. I looked into it. This article from June 17th, 1983 states the insurers were going to pay out $10.6 million. I did the conversion, and so this was the conversion rate on June 17th, 1983, 0.6555. That works out to 7.1 million Great British pounds, which in today's money is 23 million pounds. However, he was valued at 10 million pounds back then, which is 32 million pounds now. So they made a very substantial loss on Shergar, which makes me think this was not an insurance scam. The leading theory of what happened to Shergar was that the IRA kidnapped him in an attempt to get more money for firearms. Many former IRA members have spoken out stating that they know what happened to him, but whether this is just a claim to fame, I do not know because it has not been confirmed. One of them stated that his body lies in a bog at Aughnosheelin, County Leitrim. Another one claimed that Shergar was hurt during the kidnapping and was shot within 24 hours of being taken. And another one went very graphic into detail, stated that Shergar was machine gunned to death, there was blood everywhere, and the horse even slipped on his own blood. There was lots of cussing and swearing because the horse wouldn't die. It was a very bloody death. Apparently, it was several minutes before Shergar bled to death. Official reports claim that it will remain a mystery what happened to Shergar because his body was never found. However, I did find an article from the year 2000, 17 years after Shergar's disappearance, stating that an Irish councillor, Tommy Foley, was cleaning up the glen with a farmer's son, and they found the remains hidden in a sack at the bottom of a ditch. He stated there were 2 bullet holes in the head, and it was definitely a racehorse's head. He said that he was there with the farmer's son, and he said it was no ordinary horse. He said that he was planning on going to the police but had not yet done that, and the police asked for him to come forward so they could investigate this supposed skull that he found. But I have not found whether or not he did that because there has been no follow-up, which makes me think this is someone who wanted their 15 minutes of fame and went to the newspaper with a false claim. The unfortunate thing about this case is that when the trail went cold, the public never really wanted to speak about it again. Guy Williams, Ireland's leading racing historian, stated, "I think the reluctance to talk about Shergar is part of an ongoing national shame that such a thing could happen in Ireland, the home of the horse." That was everything I could find on Shergar the missing racehorse. What do you think actually happened to him? Do you think the IRA actually kidnapped him and killed him? Let me know in the comments down below, along with any other cases you would like me to look into. Don't forget to subscribe so you get notified about my next true crime case, and follow the link in the description to read about this case and support my channel.